1, 2, testing 1, 2.
meeting on Wednesday the 1st of April 2026. Members, can you ensure your microphone is positioned directly in front of you and not pushed to the side, as the new microphones are directional, and if your mic is not directly in front of you and another member is speaking, any conversations and comment made in the vicinity of your microphone may be picked up and broadcast. Can we start the live feed, please? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regulatory section of the Planning and Regulatory Services Committee. Audio recording is being used to assist in preparing the formal minutes. Therefore, anyone participating in the meeting consents to it being recorded and being live streamed on YouTube. Do we have any apologies? No. Sorry, Ruth, the only one, Councillor O'Kane, is running slightly late, but he will be here. Any declarations of interest, or we'll take them as we go along? No? Okay. Agenda 3 is a report from the Head of Planning. You will all have the report circulated, and I'll just bring in Robbie. The first item, 3.1, is up for a decision.
Thank you, Chair. So the first item I have is the second review of the implementation of the Planning Act. So this is a review that takes place every 5 years of the primary legislation for planning. We've been asked for our input into this as a part of a DFI planning improvement exercise, and have put together a report and a letter to the Chief Planner setting out our suggestions for enhancing the legislation. So I'll just run you through those. Starting with the local development plan, looking at timetables, asking that these be a bit more flexible and a guiding framework and not something that's rigidly applied. Then looking at the consultation with electronic bodies and the communication of that to allow us to be able to email some of those consultees and not have to write them letters, just to allow for a bit of flexibility there and modernise that process. In terms of independent examinations, again looking for a bit more flexibility there to allow those to be reconvened and allow further public consultation if there's issues that come up during independent examination. And we'll be going through that process relatively soon, so that's quite a key one for us. Then moving on to development management. In terms of the hierarchy of applications, at the moment there's only major and local. We suggest introducing a minor category, so looking at some of the smaller developments and measuring those differently, so your householder extensions and your adverts, keeping those different from what can be quite large developments up to 40 houses, so separating that out. And then looking at the pre-application community consultation. So at the moment, there's no time frame in which an application has to be submitted. So if you've done that consultation 5 years ago, the issues could have changed locally and you could be coming back with an application much later. So bringing in a time frame to tighten that up a bit. And then just on appeals, at the moment, you can vary the development during an appeal. So you could satisfy the reasons for refusal and win the appeal when really that should have been dealt with during the planning application process and not made it that far. So amending that, and just a small one legally on correcting errors. So bringing that into the Act to allow that if there's a sort of minor error in a decision notice that can be corrected. Looking at notification then, modernising that again. So there's a lot of issues that have to be advertised in the press, and there's no provision for site notices or for electronic communication. So a lot of councils in other jurisdictions have apps that you can download and get notified, but there's no provision for that at the moment. So modernising that, and then reviewing planning fees to modernise those and ensure that those are closer to cost recovery. And then on to schemes of delegation, those require approval from the department. So we see that as a very local issue for the council to decide. That shouldn't necessarily go all the way to the DFI for a decision on that. And then just moving on to conservation areas and tree preservation orders. A similar issue across both of those. A lot of those were made by the old DOE, and we don't have the power to vary or cancel those. So looking at bringing that power locally. And then finally on enforcement, bringing in a power to prevent against the concealment of development. So where someone has deliberately hidden something to achieve immunity, taking that away and actually allowing us to enforce against that. And then some direct powers where there's placards or posters, allowing us just to remove those, to take action and resolve those. And then just a quite technical matter on appeals. If someone's running a retrospective application, they can still appeal on the same grounds within a planning enforcement appeal, and just tightening that up to allow them only one shot at that appeal. And then a couple of points on notices. Extending the period for temporary stop notices to give us more time to resolve and look into the issues. And then just some clarification around fixed penalty notices and how those are applied. So that's the detail. I'm happy to take any questions on that.
Thank you, Robbie. Councillor Lavery, I'll just bring you in.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Robbie. There's a lot of good stuff contained in that report. It's just one small issue I have in relation to the neighbourhood notification element of planning applications. I know when there's a suggestion that we should do away with maybe neighbourhood notification consultations or neighbourhood notifications in terms of writing out to those relevant residents. Members at that time were of the view that the neighbourhood notifications is an important element of the planning process, and that a lot of the complaints we get maybe from residents are that the radius of notification is not wide enough. So to go from what we have at present to writing out to no one, I think it's a step that I don't think would be good. I understand the removal from the notices from local papers, as you know, maybe a lot of people just don't read physical papers anymore in terms of the site notice and the site notice element as well. But I really think it is important that we maintain the neighbourhood notification element of planning applications, because I do think it is relatively small in most areas. It is just those adjacent to the premises, and then the larger you get, the larger that radius grows. So I would like to make, see what other members say on it, but I would like to make a minor amendment to ensure that neighbourhood notifications, it's council's view that they remain as is. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. Does all councillors agree with Councillor Lavery? Does anyone want to come in on it? Yeah, you do all agree. But Councillor Duffy, I'll bring you in.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, totally agree. I think this came up with the council last year, the year before too, about getting rid of neighbourhood notifications, and we had rejected it then as well, because you come out of a house and they say it could be signage in front. I think the house could be right round the corner from you, and you would never know what's going up in their backyard, which could come right up against you, you know, and you just don't know. So I think neighbourhood notification is essential.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I totally agree myself. I've had issues with this, so I would agree with both of you. It is up for decision. Councillor Lobby, have you proposed that we make that amendment?
Yeah, Chair, I'm happy to propose the response with this one amendment where council would change that section of it to say that we think the neighbourhood notification element of planning applications should remain in terms of council writing out to the relevant notifiees there.
Do we have a seconder in that? Councillor Duffy?
I'll second that. No, happy to second it.
I'm just going to bring in Robbie again.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I think that motion's passed, so happy to amend that and issue with amendment as set out by Councillor Lavery.
Is everybody in agreement? Yeah? Yep. Okay, thank you. 3.2 is an item for information. Robbie's just going to go through it, if that's okay.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so just the statistics, and I've added in there a new graph with the number of live applications, which hopefully gives you a sort of a sense of the trend of applications. At the moment, we're working quite hard to reduce those, and you can see that that has come through in March already. So hopefully we can continue that trend. And just to note, the enforcement team are very busy. Currently serving 4 notices since the turn of the year, and a number of live appeals and court cases. But happy to take any questions on that.
Does anyone have any questions? Are you happy to note? Yep, thank you. We now have a report from the Head of Building Control. Tom, I'll just bring you in.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. Members, item 4.1 is the request for the naming of a housing development consisting of 8 dwellings off the Ballybay Meadows in Portadown. The applicant's preferred name for this development is Ballybay Grove, and their main reason for the preferred name is that it accesses via Ballybay Meadows, as mentioned, and they want to include the name Ballybay along with Grove to reflect the rural setting. Officers have assessed and deemed the proposal is compliant with Council's policy, so the recommendation, therefore, is for members' approval of Ballybay Grove for this housing development. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Tom. Do I have a proposer and seconder for this, please? Councillor Duffy, I'll just bring you in.
I'll propose recommendation, Chair.
Councillor Donny, I'll just bring you in.
Just happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Donnelly. My mind went blank there for a second. 4.2, we'll just bring Tom in again.
Thank you, Chair. Item 4.2, members, is the request for the naming of a housing development consisting of 33 dwellings off Bracken Road in Portadown, and maps, etc., in Appendix 2. The applicant's preferred name for this development is Bracken Drive, and the main reason for the preferred name is that all the dwellings in the area include the theme Bracken, and this section of the development is off the Bracken Road, so Bracken Drive, therefore, will be keeping with the surrounding names of the areas. Officers have assessed and deemed the proposal is compliant with Council's policy, so the recommendation, therefore, is for members' approval of the name Bracken Drive for this housing development. Happy to take any questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. This is a decision. Have we got proposer and seconder for this? Councillor Lavery, you're happy to propose. Councillor Duffy, you're happy to second. 4.3, we'll bring Tom in again.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this is for the request for a dual language application for dual language street naming, should I say, reference 052526, and it's for Ballyorn Hill in Portadown. And by way of background, members recall that in May 25, the Council received an application for dual language, namely Irish, in respect of this street. And as for the Council's policy, the application comprised of 2 stages, as outlined in the body for the report. As reported to this committee on the 2nd of July 2025, the application was progressed to stage 2 of the application. So, under the policy, officers undertook a postal survey in February 26 to canvass the views of all the relevant occupiers on that street. And following verification of the survey responses, I can confirm that the responses were as noted in the body of the report. Officers are unaware of any written views opposing this application. Members will note that the requisite threshold under the policy has therefore been met, i.e. the number of responses in agreement with the application represents not less than 2/3 of the occupiers of premises on that street. As for Article 11.2 of the legislation, it is now a matter for members to decide whether or not to use Council's discretionary power to approve the application for dual language street signage. And members are reminded that how this discretion is to be exercised is set out in Article 11.4 of the legislation, namely in deciding whether and if so how to exercise its powers under paragraph 1b or 2 in relation to any street. A council shall have regard to any views on the matters expressed by the occupiers of that street. The recommendation, therefore, for members is that members review the information contained within this report and decide whether or not to use Council's discretionary power to approve the application received by the Council for dual language street signs in respect of the street named Ballyorn Hill in Portadown. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions members may have.
Thank you, Tom. Has anyone any questions? Councillor Lavery, I'll just bring you in.
Thank you, Chair. No question. Just note that, this, as has been said, the threshold has been met in relation to this application, with the 2/3 limit being surpassed. And as such, I propose that Council use its discretionary power to approve the application received by Council for dual language street signage in this street. So happy to propose that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. I'll just bring in Councillor Duffy.
Yes, having read the report and all the reports upcoming, yes, I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Armstrong, I'll just bring you in.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. As per previous applications, recorded vote for this one, please.
Okay, Councillor Armstrong, we'll bring that to the vote. Okay, thank you. There was 9 votes. We had yes from Councillor O'Dowd, myself, Councillor Donnelly, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Lavey and Councillor McGill. Abstain was Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Mutry, Councillor Mulholland and Alderman Rankin. So that has passed. We are now going to bring Tom in again for 4.4.
Thank you, Chair. Item 4.4 relates to an application for a dual language street naming or signage at Craigavon Gardens in Portadown. And by way of background, members may recall that in May 2025, the Council received an application for dual language street signage at this address, namely in Irish. As per Council's adopted street naming and numbering policy, the application process comprises of 2 stages set out in the body of the report. As reported to this committee on the 2nd of July 25, the application was progressed to stage 2. And under stage 2, the officers undertook a postal survey in February 2026 to canvass the views of all relevant occupiers on this street. And following verification of the survey responses, I can confirm that the responses are as noted in the body of the report. Officers are unaware of any written views opposing this application. Members will note that the requisite threshold under the policy has therefore been met, i.e. the responses in agreement with the application represent not less than 2/3 of the occupiers of premises on that street. As for Article 11.2 of the legislation, it is now a matter for members to decide whether or not to use Council's discretionary power to approve this application for dual language street signage. So the recommendation, therefore, is that members review the information contained within this report and decide whether or not to use Council's discretionary power to approve the application received by the Council for dual language street signage in respect of the specified street, which is Craigavon Gardens in Portadown. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions members may have.
Thank you, Tom. Councillor Mutry, I'll bring you in.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question for Tom. Beyond the survey and the petition that's been carried out by Council, am I correct in saying Council have received no written representations in relation to this particular item?
Tom, I'll just bring you in.
Through the Chair, thank you, Councillor Mudry. To date, our Council have not received any written representations opposing this application.
Thank you, Chair. No, I just wanted to seek clarity on that because I personally was made aware that a written representation has been sent in, and I suppose there's just a bit of confusion there and wondering what we do in that scenario, because or can that be double checked?
Tom, I'll just bring you back in again.
Thank you, Chair. We can double check, but as at the pre-meeting, I still hadn't received any written representation other than what we have to date from the responses to the survey. I'm not aware of anything coming my direction that has reached me by email or I'm not aware of the details of. Maybe possibly have a slight recess just to double check with Anne if that's okay.
Want me to ring in? Yes. Yes, we'll just bring in Anne.
I'm not sure, was it legal advice that was being sought? It's more a clarification on whether Tom has received any correspondences. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to clarify that is what. So, no.
Yeah, we'll take, Tom, can you check it? Do you want to come back in again? We're just going to take a 5-minute recess. Please. I'm just going to bring in Tom Lavery for a wee bit of clarification.
Thank you, Chair. We have checked, and there's nothing in my email or has arrived with myself yet. There's nothing in Legal Services inbox, and there's nothing in Democratic Services inbox at this moment. So we're not aware of any objections or written objections. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Mutri, I'll just bring you back in again.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I can understand the confusion surrounding that. What I was told was that it was written representation that was sent in, so I don't know if that adds to the confusion that already exists. But I'm not sure what the process is for that, but that's what I was told. So I just think, in the interest of being of this committee being prudent, it may be safest to defer this until such a time that we can clarify if written representation has been sent in.
I'll just bring in Councillor Duffy on this.
Thank you, Chair. No, I disagree with that. We have to go with what's in front of us. People had ample opportunity to send in their responses, their written responses. We received all the ones, you know, that actually put this over the threshold, so that anybody who was an objection had the opportunity to write, and it has passed the threshold. So on the back of that, I'm proposing that this council uses discretionary power to accept the recommendation for dual language street signage at Corkrane Gardens, Portdown.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Armstrong, you want to come in?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just want a second proposal made by Councillor Moutry. We, as a committee, have taken all views and representations. We believe that this was a letter that was sent in. I don't know when that was sent in, but I think if it's important to this, we're not arguing the facts around that it's met the threshold and that what we have received from the residents that were interviewed, that they hadn't written in, but there's been another development that there has been a letter sent in. We don't know why that hasn't got to where it needs to get, but I just want to get that double checked. So that's why I think a deferral on this case will be best practice at this moment in time. So I'm happy to second that proposal.
Councillor Lavery, I'll just bring you in.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Tom. I'm cognizant of the fact that the views which we need to take into account on this application, and indeed in any application of this nature, are those residents within a development. As Tom has outlined, those responses have been received, and I think it is 75% in favour of all residents, which therefore has clearly met the 2/3 threshold. I think any external views on it sort of are irrelevant. It is the residents of the street in which the policy has developed to be consulted. They have been consulted, and that process has concluded, and as such I would be willing to second the recommendation to use Council's discretionary powers in this matter. The threshold has been met in this application, Chair, at 75%.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. I'm just going to bring in Anne McGill, our solicitor, Anne McGill. Can we have a proposer and seconder to go into confidential, please? Proposed by Councillor McGill, seconded by Councillor Lavery. Online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed for the meeting. This will return when the meeting has restarted. Can I ask that ICT officers to please turn off the live feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of the meeting can proceed? Thank you. just going to take a 5-minute recess. Can we start the live feed? Yes. I'm just going to bring in Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies for the confusion around all this. I do have confirmation here that I was CC'd into that an attempt was made to contact Tom Lavery, but there was a typo in the email address, which is why it hasn't been received by Tom. So I do have proof here, and I'm happy to share it with officers when needs be.
Okay, everyone, we're just going to go back into legal again. Can I get a proposer and seconder? Proposed by Councillor Lowry, second by Councillor McGowan. Can we cut the live feed, please? you. Councillor Duffy, would you like to keep your proposal or withdraw your proposal? Sorry, one sec.
On the legal advice, I will withdraw the proposal.
Yeah, same withdrawal the second based on that legal advice and that there's been evidence of that email typo. It's unfortunately it's happened so late, but you know, based on the legal advice, we'll defer.
Can I bring in Councillor Moutry to confirm his proposal, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, happy for my proposal to defer to stand, and I would just preface that again by saying it's proposed to defer to the next meeting of the Planning Committee.
Councillor Armstrong, I'll just bring you in.
Yep, happy to propose, or second that proposal by Councillor Moutry.
Are we all agreed? Yeah, okay. So 4.4 has been deferred till next month. The next two items are for information. I'll just bring in Tom Lavery for 4.5.
Thank you, Chair. Members, by way of background, you will recall in April 25, the Council received an application for dual language street signage in the Portadown area at reference number 042524. And as per Council's adopted street naming policy, the process comprised of 2 stages as set out in the body of the report. It was reported to this committee on the 2nd of July. This application was progressed to stage 2, and stage 2 being the survey, postal survey to canvass the views of all relevant occupiers on that street. And following verification of the survey responses, I can confirm that the responses were as noted in the body of the report. Members will note that the requisite threshold under the policy has not been met, i.e. responses in agreement with their application represent less than 2/3 of the occupiers of that street. Therefore, this application has not met the criteria as set out in the Council policy, where it will be considered for decision by Council. The applicant will be notified accordingly. Thank you, Chair. This is for information. I'm happy to take any questions members may have.
Thank you, Tom. Have we any questions for Tom on that? No? Okay. So we'll now go to 4.6. Bring in Tom again.
Thank you, Chair. Item 4.6 relates to the application for leave for judicial review of the dual language street signage at Woodside Hill in Portadown. And the purposes of this report is to inform members that the application for leave to judicially review the decision of the Council made on the 23rd of October 2023 in respect of dual language street signage at Woodside Hill has been dismissed as withdrawn. And by way of background, members will recall that in October 2023, the Council ratified a recommendation made by this committee on the 4th of October 2023 to exercise its discretion and refuse the application for the dual language street signage in respect of Woodside Hill, Portadown. In January 24, the Council received an application for leave for judicial review regarding that decision. Senior and Junior Council were instructed by the Council to defend the proceedings relating to that application. In September 2025, the Council received a second application for dual language street signage in the same street, being Woodside Hill in Portadown. As this application was after the 2-year period from Council's previous decision, as required by the policy, it was progressed accordingly. There was a different outcome to the survey result of the second application, and on the 23rd of February 26, the Council ratified a decision of this committee to approve that application. Following that Council decision made on the 23rd of February, the JR applicant has withdrawn the legal challenge against the Council. The final order was agreed between the parties and is attached in Appendix 11. and there was no order made as to costs. On Thursday, 19th of March 26, a number of media outlets published articles relating to the subject legal proceedings, with headlines such as Grandmother wins High Court battle for bilingual street signage on Portadown Road. Disappointingly, none of the media organisations contacted the Council for comment prior to the publication on the Thursday, the 19th of March. Officers contacted the relevant media organisations on the Friday, the 20th of March, advising them that the headline was inaccurate and misleading. The media organisations were asked to immediately correct the inaccuracies to ensure the public is not misinformed. More disappointingly, further articles were published on Monday the 23rd of March, similarly claiming that the applicant had won the legal challenge against the Council. Members will note from the High Court order that the legal proceedings were in fact dismissed as withdrawn by the applicant, and no order made as to costs. The JR application was still a pre-leave stage, and the court did not make any determination on the issue of leave. The JR applicant did not proceed beyond the initial leave stage. So just to reaffirm, the articles are incorrect in claiming that the applicant won the legal battle. To date, no response has been, no further response has been received. Sorry, just to confirm, there has been no further responses received by any of the media outlets on the articles. Chair, this is for members' information, but I'm happy to take any questions members may have.
Thank you, Tom. I'll just bring in Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Tom. Tom, could I have a copy of any costs the Council incurred when they're all totalled up at the end of this year, what we paid out for legal fees for this? And sometimes it draws a win. Just some people, you know. So.
I'll just bring in Tom again.
Through the Chair, and certainly Councillor Duffy, when those costs are known to officers, we will advise the members accordingly of what they were.
Thank you, Tom. I'll just bring in Councillor Armstrong.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and not so much question, but just sort of just want to put on record my thanks for the team, Building Control, and also the solicitors for all the work they've done during this. I still stand by the decision that we made in this committee, that we made the correct decision at the original case, and then the outcome of the additional signage last month was also go in the right direction. I will always stand by decisions that we made in this committee. Procedures were followed, and I believe that Council were right to defend ourselves. It does sort of quite surprising, not surprising that today's media is sensationalist, and it just goes to show that many people are falling out of favour with traditional media when they're printing out untruths and extorting the truth for their own gain. So I just want to put that on record. My thanks to the team involved in this case. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. I was always told don't believe everything you read, so that highlights that. So we've just one item of correspondence, 5.1, and Kyle is going to take that. Oh no, sorry, it's going to be Robbie.
Thank you, Chair. Just a very quick point of correspondence to note, a letter from DFI as part of their Transforming Planning initiative. They're letting us know that they have launched their intention to appoint independent inspectors for local development plan examinations and regionally significant applications. So that is timely and positive with our local development plan moving to independent examination relatively soon. So just to note that, really.
I'll just bring in Councillor Duffy.
Yes, on the local development plans, all councils are doing these. Has some of the councils completed these? And if so, we're just going through an all level of bureaucracy that the councils that completed their plans didn't?
I'll just bring in Robbie to answer that question.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question, Councillor. Other councils are further ahead in the process, essentially. They've had theirs examined, and that could only be done by the Planning Appeals Commission inspectors or commissioners in their case. This exercise was about generating greater capacity to carry out these examinations. This means that it's not at a bottleneck really through the PAC, and it can be done by these independent inspectors through DFI. Essentially it's generating capacity that allows our local development plan to progress on time.
Thank you, Robbie. Councillor Duffy, does that answer your question? Yes? Okay, thank you. Agenda item 6 is a confidential report. Can we seek a proposer and seconder, Councillor Armstrong, and seconder, please, to go into Councillor Lowry to go into confidential. Online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will return when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask ICT officers to please turn off the live feed and confirm to me when the confidential section of this meeting can proceed? Thank you. Have we any other relevant business? No. There will be a short recess for 10 minutes, and then we will be starting the planning applications. Thank you.
Okay, members, good afternoon everyone and welcome to the planning section of the meeting of the Planning and Regulatory Services Committee. Audio recording has been used to assist in preparing the formal minutes. Therefore, anyone participating in the meeting consents to being recorded and being live streamed on YouTube. Also, during the course of this section of the meeting, questions may be asked by councillors who are members of the Planning and Regulatory Services Committee, of planning officers, applicants for planning permission, objectors and those speaking on their behalf. In doing so, councillors endeavour to ascertain the information which they feel is necessary to enable them to determine the application. However, members of the public should note that councillors will not reach a conclusion as to whether an application should be approved, refused or deferred until the debate on the application has concluded. Okay, so we're going to move on to the decision items. We're going to take these in a different order, members. The first one we're going to consider is Appendix 3 on its application number LA08 2024 1184F. It's from CMKS Limited. Roisin Hamill, our Principal Planning Officer, is to present the report on the PowerPoint presentation, and Erwin Mossman to make a representation in support of the application. Okay, so Roisin, if you indicate, I will bring you in for your report.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. This application seeks planning permission for a change of use from a dwelling to a 9-bedroom house in multiple occupancy and associated works. The site is currently a 5-bedroom mid-terrace 2-storey dwelling and is located outside Lurgan Town Centre on Hill Street. There is one other HMO on Hill Street and a range of other uses in the vicinity of the site, including residential. The relevant policy consideration for the application is provided for by the SPPS. Given the location of the application site close to the town centre boundary in an area of mixed use, the proposed development will retain the building in residential use, and the fact there are no physical alterations externally, officers are satisfied there will be no adverse impact on the design of the host property, the character of the area or the amenity of neighbouring properties. Officers in consultation with DFI Roads are satisfied that the proposed development will not prejudice road safety or significantly inconvenience the flow of traffic. Traffic surveys were submitted to demonstrate there is sufficient on-street parking available. There were 10 letters of objection to the proposal received, and the matters raised relate mainly to increased noise, parking and congestion, de-evaluation of properties, waste, rubbish, antisocial behaviour, safety and security. These matters have all been addressed in the main sector of the report. On balance, officers are of the opinion that the proposed development complies with the Craigavon Area Plan, the SPPS and all other relevant policies, and on this basis and subject to the conditions, it is recommended that planning permission be granted. And I'll just take you through the slides. So you can see this is where our application site is on Hill Street in Lurgan. And this is an aerial view of the application site, and as you've seen from the report, it is quite a mixed use area. There is a number of residential properties in close proximity to the site and other uses as well. So this is the site location plan that was submitted with the application. So these are the floor plans of the existing dwelling, and existing on the ground floor you have a lounge, kitchen and dining room, and then 5 bedrooms upstairs. So these are the proposed floor plans and elevations, and again you'll see externally there's no change. Internally there's 3 bedrooms being created on the ground floor and 6 bedrooms being created on the first floor by subdividing existing bedrooms. So this is an external view to the front of the property, and this is to the rear of the property, just as to the rear return, to the side of the rear return of the back of the property. And this is the utility area and bin store, which is sited to the rear of the existing property. And this is the yard area, which is between the garden and the bin store. And this is the rear garden area between the yard and the garden. So this is a Google Street View of the site in 2018. And these are current images. Some work obviously has taken place to the property, internal and externally. So internal works obviously don't require planning permission, but a lot of the internal works have been done. So it's just to give you an idea of how it looks internally. So this is a view looking across, looking towards the north along Hill Street. So our property obviously to the right hand side on the opposite side of the road from the church. And then this is the view just looking south along Hill Street. So there was a parking analysis submitted with the planning application, and the green line denotes the area that was surveyed. The green line is within 2 minutes walking distance of the property. So the parking analysis obviously was carried out. This is the first site visit that was taking place as part of the parking analysis. So it was a Saturday morning at 10:30. And the red circles highlight areas where at least one car parking space is available. And this is again at the same time, and again this is just highlighting how many other car parking spaces were available at the same time at 10:30 on a Saturday morning. This was taken on 25th September, which was a Wednesday at 7:30 in the evening. Again, the red circles show where there was at least one car parking space available. And again, at the same time, more parking that's available at that time. And then on the 26th of September, which was a Thursday at 1 o'clock, another site visit was carried out. And again, the red circles denote how much parking was available. And this slide is just to show that there was additional parking available then again at 1 o'clock on the Thursday. And officers have also visited the site at 9:30 in the morning and during the week, and at 7:15 in the evening during the week, and confirm again there was ample parking spaces available at that time. So that concludes the presentation. Thank you, members.
Roisin, thank you very much for taking us through this. Now we will have Erwin Mossman to make representations in support of the application. Erwin, you're very welcome to our committee today. You will have 3 minutes to speak, and once the 3 minutes are up, I will have to stop the clock. Erwin, if you indicate to speak, I will bring you in, and as soon as you start, is the clock ready there? There's the clock now, Erwin. So I will bring you in, and once you start speaking, the clock will commence.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, members, for inviting me here today. In this instance, I support this application and conclude with all the findings that Principal Mrs. Roisin Hamill has just presented to you all. At the end of the day, this proposal comes down to a few lines within the Strategic Plan Policy Statement for Northern Ireland, which focuses on no demonstrable harm to interests of acknowledged importance. The design and character and amenity has been addressed. We're actually saving a building here that has been languishing on the market. We're maintaining its residential use. With regards noise and etc., environmental health have highlighted no concerns. Mrs. Hamill has highlighted to you all the adequate on-street car parking within walking vicinity of the property. The property is also within walking proximity to public transport connections. There were other issues raised with regards to valuing the property. As again, Mrs. Hamill has highlighted in her report, there is no evidence brought forward, if anything, where this proposal is saving a rather difficult building to be sold by converting it into HMOs and maintaining the residential use. There was some suggestions within the objections about security and safety and waste and antisocial behaviour. Co-living, as I prefer to call it, are some of the most heavily regulated properties within our community. Not only do we have to have a licence, not only do we have this council involved, we've Belfast Council, we've environmental health involved. We also have, this property will be sublet through an estate agent. There's a plan in place there to deal with all of these matters, and the applicants have a track record with other properties that they own of contributing to the locality and ensuring that there is a level of vitality brought to this district. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Well within time. Members, you've heard from our Principal Planning Officer, Roisin, and you've also heard from Erwin in support of the application. Is there any questions that I just want to raise at this stage? Councillor Moutre, I'll bring you in.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Roisin, for the report. I suppose I'll just start by saying from this committee and from this council, we're not led by an HMO policy. That's been a concern that's been raised many times over the years. So we have to base this off the strategic planning policy statement that's ahead of us, or that's in front of us here. And as we know, the SPPS supports sustainable residential development only where it does not harm local character and amenity. And I think it's important that we as a committee just flesh that out a little bit here. And my particular concern, I suppose, first of all, would be that this is a 9-bed HMO throughout the borough. I've looked at the statistics pertaining within the HMO unit in Belfast, and the statistics on the licensed HMOs in this particular borough. A 9-bed HMO would represent one of the largest HMOs in this area. So I would have concern with the implications there on the character of this street, and particularly on intensification. A 9-bed HMO, that represents a specific high level of activity associated with up to 9 occupants. So can I just ask, particularly in terms of the impact that this proposal will see on intensification, can I just ask how this has been assessed in terms of residential amenity, first of all?
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. I'll bring in Roisin to answer that.
Yes, thank you, Chair. In terms of residential amenity, obviously we have to consider the character of the area. We're looking at the area that it's located in at the moment. It is a fairly mixed-use area. There are single residential properties, but there are other sort of further down Hill Street, there are other higher density residential units as well. In terms of the number of people entering to and from the property, well, this is a 5-bedroom property at this moment in time. Potentially you could have a family of 6 people coming and going at any one time. This is bringing it up to 9, so it's an extra 3 people in the context of the wider area. We're of the view really that it doesn't necessarily change the character or impact on the amenity. We have been in consultation with Environmental Health, and they have come back to us and have advised that they have no concerns with regard to the amenity and the impact on the area. And that's really how we've assessed it.
Roisin, thank you very much. You're looking back in, Councillor Mitchell?
Yes. Thank you, Roisin, for that. Look, I take note that of the fact that the report states that this is an area of mixed use. I think I'm correct in saying that. And look, given my local knowledge, I've looked at the area closely, even from using tools like Google Maps. I would personally have the assessment that this is a predominantly residential area. And I've gone off and I've looked at the electoral register, for example, and I've seen that there's 70. For what appears to me to be 70 single dwellings on this particular street. There's only one other HMO, and I would add that it's nearly half the size of this one, just a few doors down. And again, sorry, without getting off on a tangent here, the other HMO in this street is about 4 doors down from this. Without having a policy of our own, we could look at things like clustering. We don't have a policy, so that's out of the window there. But I do just want to particularly ask, how do we actually quantify the area being of mixed use? Because to me, it appears to be predominantly residential, and certainly in the context of this specific street.
Roisin, do you have anything to add to your previous answer?
Just to say, yes, I take on board exactly what you're saying, and I suppose for us to assess the character of the area, you have to define the area. What is the area you're looking at? We're looking at sort of Hill Street here and some of the satellite streets, and yes, I agree, it is predominantly residential. There are a large number of residential properties, but there are other uses here. There's a housing executive building, there's a surgery, there's a church. So there are a mix of uses in this street and the satellite streets, and that's what we're looking at as a whole. But we do acknowledge there's a high level of residential properties here. But this is still a residential use. It's just a higher density residential use, and that has to be taken into account as well.
Okay. Thank you, Roisin. Councillor Mitchell, content with response? Yep, go ahead.
Yep. Can I just ask, is there any recognition for, or can officers even clarify the typical size of HMOs within the borough? Is there any consideration for that pertaining within the context of this proposal, and whether a 9-bedroom HMO would be considered above the average norm within this particular borough?
Roisin, I'll bring you back in that. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I honestly don't know what the average is across the borough in terms of sizes of HMOs. We've dealt with a large number of HMOs. They're in a range of sizes. Some are smaller, some are larger. I think we have had others as big as this one. So no, I couldn't tell you what the average is. All I can tell you is when we're assessing this, we do assess that it will contain 9 persons.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Roisin. Okay, members, is there any other questions at this stage? Councillor Duffy?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just understanding when we say 9 bed, there's actually 5 bedrooms and a couple of them's double bedrooms, isn't it, Roisin?
Bring Roisin in now, Councillor Duffy, and I'll bring you back in then.
Yes, in the existing property, there's 9 bedrooms, which I suppose at the minute could be used as double bedrooms, but they're being subdivided, so there'll be 9 single bedrooms in this.
Okay, Councillor Duffy, I'll bring you back in.
Would probably, if this does pass, it will be ongoing into 9 separate bedrooms. Yes, thank you. No, it's just to point out the pictures seem like a high quality finish at the minute, you know. It just appears to be a lovely building inside. So.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. And if I could ask, maybe Erwin, you know, Councillor Duffy referenced the finish in the house and the pictures there. What type of clientele would you be hoping to put in there? Would it be marketed at young professionals, or who would your target audience be? Erwin, if you could potentially answer that.
Yes, very happy to answer that, Chair. Like any of us with an investment, great care has been taken by the applicants to ensure that their money will be not lost, for want of a better phrase, and they have produced a very high-end finish. I would describe it almost as hotel-like, and it's actually better finish than my own house. So because of that high level of investment and a care to see a return on that investment, the applicants are and have approached local pharmaceutical companies. They've also approached local IT companies. They've also approached the health board, and they're seeking young professional types who currently, because of the way the housing market is in Northern Ireland, are priced out of other situations, and this becomes a realistic option for them. So it is high-end professionals, young range of people that they're aiming for, Chair.
Erwin, thank you very much for that. Is there any other questions, members, for Erwin or Roisin at this stage? No further questions, members. Then, members, we will move into the debate stage. And has anybody any thoughts at this stage on the recommendation, or care to share their opinion? Councillor Duffy, I will bring you in first.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, there's been a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk through this council on HMOs in general. There's a lot of talk on the radio on the day on HMOs, particularly Belfast Dairy direction. A lot of talk about, you know, as was said there, people being priced out of the market. You know, you can't afford it, even right down to the benefit system, that you're handicapped with you get benefits for 1-bedroom house, and they can't afford to be taking up occupancy in 2 and 3 bedroom because the benefit system doesn't go that way. So I'm leaning towards accepting it. So yeah, sure.
Thank you very much, Councillor Duffy, for your input. Councillor Mitry, I'll bring in now.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, look, I think we've already established that the proposal would remain within a residential use class. There's been a wee bit of debate there just with regards to whether the entire street in its own context is considered residential or that of mixed use. I still think it's worth trying to flesh that out a little bit more. A 9-bedroom HMO represents a significantly higher level of intensity, and I think that's the concern that I have, particularly when you put that into consideration with looking at the character of the area, it's materially different from a single dwelling, and the upwards of 70 single dwellings that are on that street, or even the apparent average of HMOs across the borough. And I've done some of my own research to that end. I think this is out of step with the average of HMOs within the borough, and again, I think it's worth having a closer look at that. I just don't think that we can rush into making a decision without establishing with evidence whether the street is predominantly made up of single family dwellings or having a closer look at that. So I would be minded certainly to look at more evidence and basing whatever decision this committee makes on that.
Councillor Mitchell, could you clarify what evidence you would want to be gathered in relation to this application?
Thank you, Chair. I would be inclined to move towards looking at a street audit, if that's something that can be done. Again, I think it would be useful for this committee to look at the average size of HMOs across the borough, and bring that evidence forward to committee in future as well, because like I've said, this is a 9-bed HMO, it's on the higher end of intensity, and it's worth taking that into consideration.
We're going to go in the committee for a few moments, so if you're not part of the plan committee, could you please leave the room until we've discussed this legal matter? Can you cut the live feed as well? Mayfield. Thank you. Okay, members, we are back in public session. We had some legal advice there, so we were at the debate stage there, and we heard from Councillor Duffy and we heard from Councillor Moutre. Following that, is there any further contributions anybody wishes to make at this stage? If not, we will move into the decision stage. So if anybody wishes to make a recommendation or a proposal, we will hear them now. Councillor Duffy, I will bring you in.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Having heard legal advice and read the report thoroughly, and thank you for the report, Roisin, I'm minded to accept the officer's report to accept the HMO in whatever street it's in, Hill Street, Lurgan.
Councillor Duffy, thank you very much for your proposal. I'll next bring in Councillor O'Kane.
Thank you very much, Chairman. On listening to the arguments and things myself, I'm going to second Councillor Duffy's proposal.
Okay, members, we've had a proposal from Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor O'Kane. I'll bring in Councillor Moutre at this stage.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just want to state for the record that I still don't feel like I've been furnished with enough evidence that I've requested, and that will help me in determining whether this qualifies SPPS, which is in the absence of an HMO policy, which we have requested for many years. And I just want to add for the record, the Minister of Communities has actually recently written a statement advising councils to have their own policy. I still just don't feel confident that this has satisfied my concerns with regard to SPPS and with regards to amenity and character of the area, so I will not be supporting the application or the officer's recommendation.
Are you making that a proposal, Councillor Moutre? That's okay, Councillor Moutre. It's been proposed and seconded, and Councillor Moutre has requested a recorded vote on it. So, members, if you could get the vote will be open very shortly, and we're going to vote on Councillor Duffy's proposal. Okay, members, the votes are in and in support of the proposal by Councillor Duffy. 8 members voted yes. There were myself, Councillor Kevin Salvage, Councillor Mary O'Dowd, Councillor Fergal Donnelly, Councillor Paul Duffy, Councillor Julie Flaherty, Councillor Peter Lavery, Councillor Sorga McGowan, Councillor John O'Kane, and those who voted no were Councillor Scott Armstrong, Councillor Kyle Moutre, Councillor Alan Mulholland, Alderman Paul Rankin and Councillor Ian Wilson. So that proposal from Councillor Duffy is carried. So that application decided. Erwin, you're free to go now. Thank you for your time this afternoon. Okay, members, we're moving on to the first of two applications for St Mary's Primary School in Banbridge. We're taking them both separately because they're both separate applications. Appendix 1 is application number LA08/2025-1233F, and it's St Mary's Primary School, Banbridge. It is up for approval. Roisin Hamill, our Principal Planning Officer, will present report on PowerPoint presentation, and there's no speakers on this one. And we also have Val Russell from Road Service should you have any questions relating to traffic issues. So, Roisin, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to yourself.
Thank you, Chair. This application seeks planning permission for the construction of a new car park to provide a total of 37 spaces at St Mary's Primary School in Banbridge. However, the additional number of spaces is in effect 33 spaces, which are 16 car parking spaces and 17 drop-off, pick-off parking spaces, as 4 existing spaces are lost to facilitate the proposal. The existing car park for the school is also to be reorganised to provide a disabled parking bay. Currently at peak times there are parking pressures and congestion at Riley Park, which is impacting on local residents. This application has been submitted to overcome existing parking and congestion concerns and to provide a betterment of the existing facilities at the school. The application has also been accompanied by a traffic management plan, which includes details of how the school will manage the one-way traffic system. Officers in conjunction with DFI Roads consider the proposal represents a significant improvement to the existing facilities at the school. The provision in the car park will result in the loss of open space, contrary to the area plan and policy OS1 of PPS 8. However, officers of the view it has been clearly demonstrated that the proposal complies with one of the exceptions set out in OS1 of PPS 8, in that the proposal will bring substantial community benefits that decisively outweigh the loss of open space. Officers are satisfied, therefore, the principle of development is acceptable. The proposal requires a 22.6 metre length of retaining structure along the eastern boundary and a 30 metre length of retaining structure along the northeastern boundary, with 2.4 high security mesh fencing above it. To light the proposed car park, 10 6-metre high lighting columns are provided. Officers have considered the impacts of the proposed lighting and retaining structures on the closest sensitive receptors and are satisfied, in consultation with the Environmental Health Department, there will be no adverse impacts on residential amenity. One letter of objection was received, and the matters raised, which relate mainly to the traffic and congestion that currently exists at Riley Park, have been fully considered in the report. Officers are satisfied the proposal will provide betterment of the existing parking and drop-off facilities at the school and will help alleviate existing parking pressures within the school and at Riley Park. The proposal therefore complies with one of the exceptions set out in OS1 and is acceptable in its own right. Officers are recommending that the application be approved. I'll just take you through the slides. So this is the site within the general area, so you can see St Mary's School there. So the red arrow is pointing to the green space, which is going to be used for the proposed car parking. And that aerial view probably gives you a better indication of the green area that's being lost for the car parking spaces. So this is the existing site plan. You can see the existing car park adjacent to the school, and then to the right you can see the area that is open space that is being proposed for the new car parking. And that is a layout showing the new parking spaces, some of which are drop-off and pick-up parking spaces. And this is a detail of the fencing and the lighting that will be used to light and surround the new car park. These are some sectional drawings, probably quite a bit small for you to see, but there are sections through the car park because the land does slope away towards Ivey, towards the mews there on Ivey Park. So there will be a retaining wall required so that the car park basically can be levelled out to allow for parking on it. And this is the car park lighting plan, just to show you an indication of where the lights are going to be located within the car park. So you'll see from the report there is a small area of open space that's used for the nursery and an area that's a visual amenity area that's been lost to facilitate this car parking. And that's the visual amenity area further on down. That'll be where the car park will be proposed. And just another view of the open space that's being proposed. So these are the existing pick-up drop-off spaces along Riley Park that currently serve the school. And again, it's just another view of the pick-up and drop-off parking spaces that currently serve the school at Riley Park. And this is up on the area of green space looking down towards the Mews development. So this is standing where the car park is proposed. So this is on Ivey Drive looking back towards the school. So the car park will be to the rear of those properties with mesh fencing. And again, this is a view to the back of those houses on Ivy Park, the Mews, I think it's called. So that the fencing there will be a retaining wall there and fencing to level out the car park to allow for the car parking to be facilitated. And that's just a view further on up at the Mews, showing that area between the Mews and the car park at this moment. Thank you, members.
Roisin, thank you very much for that. I suppose, members, I'll start the ball rolling. And Val, it's just a question for you. Note DFF, no objections, and I would just like to hear your thoughts on this. And do you think it's a betterment for Riley Park? I know there's a few issues in the mornings and evenings on occasions with parking in the area, and I just maybe to hear your thoughts on how this might improve matters, Val. So if I could bring you in, Val.
Thanks, Chair. I actually dealt with St Mary's original application in the day, and obviously they came out with the extension, and we asked for additional parking spaces. But the most important thing for us is, from road service, is having the drop-off and pick-up points. The travel plan or the traffic management plan, which the school is going to enact, will ensure that there remain available for parents. Some of our observations would notice that staff are using them, so it's up to the school to manage that, and I think they've got the message. The other thing as well, the pedestrian gate at the top of the school on the Craigavon Road is open, which will help alleviate a lot of the issues in Ready Park. But you can't stop some inconsiderate person parking and blocking traffic. It happens. Now, what the EAF put forward, we fully support, and we have no issues with it.
Val, thanks very much for that, and you're reinforcing the message about inconsidered parking, so hopefully that will get through to people. Councillor Lavey, you indicated you wanted to come in.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Roisin, for the report. And yeah, my only question I have for Val is, will this application help improve children's safety? Because you're right, Chair, at nearly every primary school in the country there's issues with parking. People park over to get slightly closer to the school, and a number of instances children have been put at risk. This plan before us seems that it will improve children's safety, providing more spaces, more drop-off spaces. But just if that's the view of DFA, if we can just check with Val, because if it is, I mean, it's needs to happen then.
Councillor Lavey, Val, if you want to come in with a few comments.
Yeah, it certainly will help road safety issues within the school. All drop-off, pick-up and parkings within the school environment. If anybody's dropping the kids off in the other car park, there's a pedestrian crossing already in place. Right beside the gate, the pedestrian access gate, so there is a road safety we have no concerns with it.
Val, thanks very much. Okay, I'll bring Councillor Wilson in next.
Thank you, Chair. Just I'm well aware, and I'm sure yourself as Chair, for a number of years now, the traffic issues within Riley Park. For going to the primary school. Has DFA considered any sort of traffic calming measures, Val, for speed ramps or extending double yellow lines? I know double yellow lines aren't the be all and end all, people ignore it, but it might send a bit of a message out where the children and road safety is paramount. But obviously this proposal, and listen to yourself, will hopefully alleviate a lot of them issues and make it safer for children on the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Val, do you want to address Councillor Wilson's concerns there about speed bumps and potential yellow lines?
We haven't got any complaints regarding speed. Usually at schools, speed isn't a problem, and because it's congested, so you don't have a speeding problem. Regarding waiting restrictions, if we put waiting restrictions down, then we penalise the residents, because they wouldn't be able to park either.
Thanks very much. Is there any further questions about this application? We're happy to move into the debate stage. Okay, I suppose as a Banbridge councillor, I'd give my tuppence worth to start with. I think this is a much needed application, and with another application after this that we need to consider linked to this. But you know, there has been issues ongoing in Riley Park for a number of years, and the residents have really been frustrated. It's a cause of frustration in schools across the country as well. But hopefully this will go a long way to alleviate it. But I think the main thing, as Val pointed out, is that it's going to be incumbent on parents and people who are bringing kids to school to be more considerate for the residents in the area. And I think that's the main message we need to take away from that. So that's just my thoughts on that. So I'll bring Councillor Lavery in next.
Thanks, Chair. Completely concur. Again, we've heard it from DFI that this will improve the safety of children in the school. Therefore, we must approve it. Child safety in terms of drop-offs and pickups is an issue at many schools in Northern Ireland. We need to be doing all we can to make it sure that schools are as safe as they can be, and this sounds like a positive improvement for St Mary's Primary School in Banbridge, so I will be supporting the approval recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. I'll bring in Councillor Wilson next.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Agree with yourself and Councillor Lavery that hopefully this will make it a safer place for parents and children to be dropped off to St Mary's, and sort of echo what you said, that all parents be considerate of local residents, and this will give them an opportunity to drive into the school and drop their kids off safely and without inconveniencing residents of Riley Park. So hopefully this is improvement, and it's very much welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I'll bring in Councillor O'Dowd next.
Thank you, Chair. I also would welcome this, but this is a serious issue that affects all schools throughout the north. Lurgan itself has by no means got away with easy parking. We have difficulties around all the schools in Lurgan, so I just hope by passing this and the comments that was made here today that parents everywhere take heed when parking up to drop their children off, because they are putting other children at risk and parents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Dowd. Bring in Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, I've noticed exactly the same things with Ballyhorn School in Portdown till it got a drop-off pick-up point in it, and it's made a lot of difference. So it has, and if the school manages it right, it'll work perfect, and the residents of Riley Park will not be angry at the parents, and the parents hopefully won't be angry at them.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Duffy. I think we know the direction of travel this one, so could I seek a proposer for this application? Councillor Peter Lavery, bring in.
Thanks, Chair. As sort of outlined there in the debate stage, I think this is a good application, much needed to improve safety for the children at the school, so content to propose the officer recommendation to approve.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Lavery. I'll bring in Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to second this proposal. Thank you.
Okay, members, thank you very much for that. So that was proposed by Councillor Lavery, seconded by Councillor Wilson. We're all agreed? Yep. Yep, thank you very much. Okay, members, just bear with me to get my notes to see where we're at next. And we're moving on to Appendix 2, and this is application number LAO-8/2022-0181/F. It's St Mary's Primary School, Banbridge again. It's up for approval. Roisin, you're going to take us through the PowerPoint and presentation, so I'll bring you in.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this application is for a two-storey extension to the existing school to provide 4 additional classrooms and associated facilities. 2 of the proposed classrooms are to replace existing classrooms which operate within the existing library within the school. The other 2 will allow for an additional 60 pupils to attend the school, 2 additional teachers and 6 other staff. The layout of the building, scale, form and materials have been designed to successfully integrate with the surrounding area. Officers in consultation with the Environmental Health Officer are satisfied that given the separation distance to the nearest sensitive receptors, there will be no adverse impacts by reason of noise. Given the minimum 45-metre separation distance, it is considered the proposed extension will not overshadow or dominate the existing dwellings at Riley Park, or that there will be any adverse impacts by reason of overlooking. The guidance set out in the parking standards documents requires 9 additional parking spaces for the proposed extension. While this application only includes the existing car park and drop-off parking along the internal access road, additional parking, including drop-off and pick-up spaces for the proposed development, is provided by planning application LA8 2025-1233, which provides for a total of 33 additional spaces. Officers in consultation with DFI Roads consider the overall proposal, including the additional parking space and drop-off spaces, represents a significant improvement to the existing facilities at the school, and the proposal will aid in alleviating parking pressures and congestion. Officers are satisfied there is a clear need for this proposed development and that it accords with the provisions of the area plan and the relevant planning policies. A petition of objection has been received which contains 22 signatures, and 2 other objections from 2 separate addresses have also been received. The matters raised in the petition and the letters of objection have been addressed in the main section of the report, and these concerns related mainly to the volume of traffic through Riley Park and the existing congestion caused by parents parking within Riley Park and not using the drop-off spaces properly. Officers are content the proposed extension will complement the existing school building. The additional parking provided for under the car park application will help alleviate parking pressures within Riley Park, and on this basis it is recommended plan permission be granted. I think we have another PowerPoint for you. So yep, this is a site location plan. So you can see the red line includes Riley Park and the car park and the site of the proposed extension, which is just to the north of the existing school building. And the blue arrow annotates where the proposed extension is going to go. And again, that's just a closer view to show you. The proposed extension will just be to the north end of the existing building there, behind the car park. And that gives you an indication of the size and scale of it in relation to the existing school. So these are the existing and proposed floor plans. So as you can see, 4 new classrooms and associated facilities are being provided for. And these again are the proposed plans, just to give you an idea of the design, which is sort of in keeping with the existing school building. So the proposed extension will just be on that far end gable behind the car park. So that's the gable end, that'll be where the new extension will be located. And just another view of that gable end where the extension will be located. This is a view of the existing car park and the existing drop-off and parking spaces, and as we've already discussed under the other application, there's nine parking spaces required for this development, but in total under the car parking application 33 spaces are being provided for, including drop-off and pick-up spaces. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you, members.
Roisin, many thanks for that presentation. Okay, members, is there any questions for Roisin in relation to the application in front of us? There's no questions. We'll move to the debate stage then. So, Roisin, thanks very much. It is a very comprehensive report, and it outlines all the concerns, and also this report and the previous one that complement each other. You know, so it's good to see them coming together at the same time, and it'll hopefully the last approval will give residents some reassurance that their issues have been addressed. And it's good to see from point of view that 2 classrooms that are currently being held in the school's library will, you know, they'll have a proper classroom again back themselves. So, you know, the numbers are, they need the extension. So that's my thoughts on it. I think it's a good application. It makes sense at the location where it's been, the extension's been put. So I think it's a good application. So Councillor Lavery, you're looking in.
Thank you, Chair. I would concur with your viewpoints on this. All too often we see pupils and classes squeezed into space in schools which weren't originally designed to be classrooms, in this case the library. So the pupils there in the school have lost their library, you know, for those additional classroom spaces. So this is maybe righting that wrong, as well as providing additional space, you know, for the needs in the community, whilst also then allowing that low library space to be brought back and the extracurricular use from all the pupils at the school. So I think it's a much needed application. I'd say it's a very similar situation across many of the schools in the borough, which are just running out of space given the fast growing nature of the residential population growth in the area. So again, it's much needed, so I'll be supporting approval once we get into that stage, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lavery. There's no further lights on, so we'll move to decision stage. Have we got a proposer and seconder for this application? Come on, Councillor Lavery, I'll bring you in.
Thank you, Chair. As outlined in the debate stage, I'm content to propose we accept the officer's recommendation to approve.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lavery. Councillor Donnelly, I'll bring you in.
Just like to second that proposal.
Thank you very much, Councillor Donnelly. Okay, that's been proposed by Councillor Lavery, seconded by Councillor Donnelly. Are all agreed, members? Thank you very much. Members, we're going to move on to our final application of this evening. It's application number LA08 2025 1282F. It's Bourneview Mill Football Club. It's up for approval, and it's back to Roisin to take us through the presentation and PowerPoint. Roisin, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Chair. This application is for the erection of a viewing gallery within the grounds of Bourneview Mill Football Club, Tandragee Road, Portadown. The proposal comprises of a small building, partially glazed, which will sit to the front of the existing changing facilities, and a covered walkway between the two buildings will be created. The location of the proposed development is within the grounds of the existing football club facility and is currently open space tied to the operation of the facility. The development will facilitate the retention and enhancement of the facility and will provide a covered viewing area in association with overall use of the playing fields. And for that reason, officers consider the proposed development accords with the PPS 21, the Craigavon Area Plan, the SPPS and PPS 8, and is considered acceptable in principle. The scale, design, layout and material finish are appropriate for the character of the area and for the intended use of the development. The proposed structure is of a size and scale that would not appear visually dominant from public vantage points in the vicinity of the site. In terms of residential amenity, officers in consultation with the Environmental Health Department are satisfied there will be no unacceptable impacts on nearby residents. DFI Roads is confirmed is content with the proposal and no concerns with regard to access and parking arrangements. 4 letters of objection have been received, raising a number of concerns relating to the details of the application, the need for the proposed development, noise concerns, parking and potential use of the building. These matters have all been fully considered in the report. And on this basis and subject to the conditions attached, it is recommended that planning permission be granted. So this is the location of the application site, so it's just to the south of Portadown. Actually, it is in the countryside. So the red square shows you just, well, it's actually a wee bit off-centre there, but it shows you roughly where the proposed extension is going to go to the front of that brown building, the change facilities. So that's the site location plan, just outlining the site in red. And this is the site plan, so you can see the hatched building to the front of the existing changing facilities. So that's the location of the proposed viewing gallery. And this is gives an idea of the design. So it is partially glazed. It is to allow people to stand covered and be able to view football matches from the viewing gallery. So this is a view of the site from within the grounds of the football club, looking back towards it, and you'll see these photographs were taken the other day, so there is actually work commenced on the site, so you can see the viewing gallery is partially, well, they've started to partially build it. And again, it's a view from within the football grounds, looking back towards the change facilities and the proposed viewing gallery. And this is looking back towards the road, towards the entrance of the site, looking back towards, so you can see that the viewing gallery will be, you can't really see it from photographs, but it will be partially screened by the existing building. So that'll give you a better indication of where it sits in location to the existing buildings. So this is from Brackenmoss Road, looking back towards the site. So there is like a close boarded fence. There's 2 new dwellings on the Tandragee Road there. There's a close boarded fence between those and the football club. So it sits in behind that close boarded fence when you're looking at it from the Tandragee Road and the Brackenmoss Road. And this is just sitting back further up the Brackenmoss Road, so you can see that close boarded fence, so you can see the roof of the existing building and the viewing galleries in behind that again. And this is from the property, the adjacent property at number 3 Brackenmoss Road, and again you can see the proposal is actually quite screened by existing development there. And this is looking towards another adjacent property number, I think it's 258 Tandragee Road. So you can see there is a very mature boundary along there, which would screen obviously any views from the site towards this dwelling. Bearing in mind this site is obviously a football club already. There are football matches, there are spectators there already that use this site. Thank you, members.
Roisin, again, thank you very much for a very comprehensive report. Members, is there any questions for Roisin on that report? Okay, I will move then to debate stage. I think it's a very modest proposal that this club is bringing forward. As Rushin pointed out, there's already football games played there. It'll maybe mean spectators have a wee bit more comfort. It seems well screened, and for any football club, a bit of ambition is good. So I think it's a very good proposal, and it will help supporters of the team. So thank you very much, Rushin, and I would be minded to accept their recommendation. Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd agree. It is a modest proposal. Given its enclosed nature, you can see it being particularly useful for maybe senior citizens and maybe those with disabilities. And I note that there is a ramp to be able to access the proposed viewing gallery, which is to be welcome. So overall, I think this is a good community benefit here before us.
Thank you, Councillor Lavery. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair. Just to echo the comments already made. Good to see our local football teams and sports teams, developing their facilities, not only to make them better for themselves, but also for the public that would be using them. So, yeah, it's good news. Good to see. Probably minded to support it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Armstrong. There's nobody else indicated to speak, so I'll move on to proposal. And we have Councillor Mutri will bring in.
Thank you, Chair. As you said yourself, it's a very balanced proposal. I've no real qualms. I think everything here has been satisfied, and I would be happy to support the officer's recommendation and wish the club all the very best. It's great to see grassroots football continuing in an upwards vein, and I wish them all the very best, and I hope their viewing is positive.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mutri. That's been proposed by Councillor Mutri. Councillor Armstrong.
Yep, just happy to second that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Armstrong. Members, it's been proposed and seconded by Councillor Mutri. Councillor Armstrong, we all agreed? Okay, members, that brings the meeting to a close tonight. I want to thank everybody for their help and contributing tonight, particularly the officers. I'd also like to thank the Vice Chair for covering me for the first part of the meeting, which I missed, and that wasn't on purpose. So, members, you're free to go, and we'll see